Sign this paper, or you are out of the family. My father slid the document across the table without a shred of hesitation. Victoria needs the rights to that old code to sell the company. Stop being selfish and just be useful for once. You are just a freelancer, Lauren. You don't understand real business. I looked at the pen he offered. Then I looked at him. He thought he was cornering me. He had no idea I was about to destroy him. I picked up the pen and smiled. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I just smiled, because he had no idea who was really sitting across from him. Before I tell you what happened when the buyer walked in, drop a comment and let me know where you are listening from right now. I want to see how far this story travels. 3 hours before my father tried to end my career, I walked into the lobby of the Silver Creek Golf Resort. It was the kind of place that charged $12 for a bottle of water and smelled like old money and desperation. My mother, Sandra, didn't hug me. She didn't ask how my drive was. She shoved a heavy, black camera bag into my chest with enough force to make me stumble back a step. "You are late," she hissed, her eyes darting around the lobby to make sure none of her wealthy friends saw her acknowledging me. "Victoria is already starting her toast. Get in there and make yourself useful. And please, Lauren, try not to eat the hors d'oeuvres. We are paying per head, and you are here to work, not to socialize. My name is Lauren. I am 28 years old. To the financial world, I am the founder of a logistics empire that moves freight across 3 continents. To the IRS, I am a high net worth individual in the top tax bracket. But in this room, to the people who share my DNA, I am just the failure, the freelancer, the spare part they keep around to save costs on a photographer." I took the bag. I didn't argue. I didn't tell her that my hourly consulting rate was higher than the cost of this entire venue. I just walked into the ballroom and raised the camera to my eye. There she was, Victoria, my older sister. She was standing on a raised platform, glowing, not from love, but from greed. She was holding court with a glass of champagne in one hand and a diamond ring that cost more than my first car in the other. She was telling anyone who would listen about the sale. "Titan Ventures," she bragged, her voice carrying over the string quartet. "They are buying us out for $18,500,000. Cash. It is a done deal. We are just waiting on the ink to dry." She looked radiant. She looked triumphant. She had no idea that Titan Ventures was a holding company I registered in Delaware 6 months ago. She had no idea she was bragging about selling her company to the sister she forced to fetch her drinks. I snapped a photo. Flash. Victoria laughing. Flash. Michael, my father, shaking hands with investors, looking like the proud patriarch of a business he ran into the ground. Flash. Sandra scolding a waiter for not filling her glass fast enough. They think invisibility is a curse. It hurts, sure. Standing there while your own mother treats you like a servant stings in a way that never really calluses over. But they don't realize that invisibility is a tactical advantage. When you are nothing to them, they say everything in front of you. They don't lower their voices for the photographer. They don't hide their secrets from the help. Through my lens, I wasn't just capturing smiles. I was documenting evidence. Every expensive bottle of wine, every designer dress, every boast about money they didn't actually have. I was matching their lifestyle against the tax records I had already pulled. They thought I was hiding in the background because I was ashamed. They didn't know that invisibility isn't a prison. It is a blind for the hunter. And I was hunting. The party grew louder as the champagne flowed. The string quartet had switched to something upbeat, but the tension in the room was thicker than the humidity. I was refilling the ice bucket at a side table when Victoria approached. She didn't thank me. She didn't offer me a glass. She leaned in close, her breath smelling of expensive brute, and smiled. "You look ridiculous in that outfit," she said, flicking the strap of my camera bag. "But at least you are finally contributing something. It is about time you started pulling your weight." I didn't flinch. I just adjusted my lens. "Just doing my job, Victoria. Congratulations on the sale. 18 million is impressive," she scoffed, glancing over her shoulder to make sure no one important was listening. Then she leaned in closer, dropping her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Impressive? It is a miracle. Those idiots at Titan Ventures didn't even blink at the user metrics." My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my face blank. "User metrics? Inflated," she bragged, taking a sip of her drink. "We bought 50,000 bot accounts last month to pump the numbers. Revenue is projected based on contracts that don't even exist yet. But Titan? They just saw the growth chart and opened their checkbook. They are buying a shell, Lauren. A pretty, shiny shell." I feigned subservience, grabbing a napkin to wipe a non-existent spill on the small marble cocktail table between us. As I did, I slid my phone out of my pocket and placed it face down on the cool stone surface. The voice memo app was already running. the red waveform pulsing with every word she spoke. I wasn't just listening. I was ensuring the microphone had a direct line to her arrogance. Is that safe? I asked, playing the naive little sister. Michael joined us then, clapping a hand on Victoria's shoulder. His face was flushed, his tie loosened. Safe? It is brilliant. We take the cash, pay off the personal debts, and we are on a plane to the Caymans before they even realize the user base is a ghost town. Let Titan deal with the fallout. We will be retired. They laughed. A cruel, shared laugh of people who thought they were smarter than everyone else in the room. They were confessing to federal wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy right in front of me because they thought I was too stupid to understand what they were saying. I nodded along, forcing a weak smile. Wow. You guys really thought of everything. That is why we are the executives, Lauren. Michael sneered, grabbing another shrimp from a passing tray. And you are the help. Now go get a shot of your mother by the ice sculpture, and try not to drop the camera. It is worth more than your car. I watched them walk away, high-fiving each other. I looked down at my phone on the table. The recording was still running. I picked it up, saved the file, and sent a copy to a secure cloud server. Then I texted Mr. Sterling. They just confessed. Everything. Audio inbound. They thought I was cleaning up their mess. I was just preparing to bury them in it. The string quartet packed up. The guests drifted toward the exits, buzzed on free champagne and the thrill of proximity to supposed wealth. But for the family, the night was just beginning. We moved into the private conference room adjacent to the ballroom. The air here was different. Stale. Serious. I stood in the corner, camera bag at my feet, invisible again. Michael was loosening his tie, his face flushed with anticipation. Victoria was reapplying her lipstick, checking her reflection in her phone screen. They looked like predators who had just cornered a wounded animal. They thought they were about to feast. Then the door opened, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Enter Arthur Sterling. I had hired Sterling because he was the kind of lawyer who didn't just know the law. He weaponized it. He walked in wearing a charcoal suit that was tailored to the millimeter, carrying a leather briefcase that looked older than I was. He didn't smile. He didn't apologize for the late hour. He walked straight to the head of the table and sat down. "Mr. Sterling!" Michael boomed, extending a hand across the table. A pleasure to finally meet the man behind the money. Titan Ventures has made a very wise decision. Sterling didn't take the hand. He didn't even look at it. He opened his briefcase, the snap of the latches echoing like gunshots in the quiet room. He pulled out a single, thick document and slid it across the mahogany surface. "Let us skip the theatrics," Sterling said, his voice a low, gravelly baritone. "My client wants this deal closed tonight. But before we proceed, there are formalities." Victoria laughed, a nervous, tinkling sound. "Formalities? We have sent over the pitch deck. The user growth is exponential. You have seen the charts." Sterling looked up. His eyes were cold, gray flint. "I have seen the charts. I am not interested in charts. I am interested in liability." He flipped the contract open to a page flagged with a red sticky note. He spun it around so they could read it. "Clause 14B, Sterling said. "Representations and warranties. Read it carefully." I watched from my corner. I knew Clause 14B by heart. I had written it. "This clause states," Sterling continued, tapping the paper with a gold pen, "that the seller, you, warrants that all financial data, user metrics, and revenue projections provided to Titan Ventures are 100% organic, accurate, and free of manipulation. It explicitly states that any falsification of these numbers constitutes a material breach." He paused, letting the silence stretch. Then he leaned forward. "More importantly, because this transaction involves an electronic transfer of funds across state lines, signing this document while knowingly misrepresenting data constitutes federal wire fraud. That carries a mandatory prison sentence. Are we clear?" The room went dead silent. I saw Michael's Adam's apple bob as he swallowed hard. I saw Victoria's hand tremble slightly as she reached for her water glass. For a second, just a second, I thought self-preservation might kick in. I thought they might back down. But I had underestimated their greed. Or maybe I had overestimated their intelligence. Michael laughed. A loud, booming sound that was entirely fake. "Standard boilerplate, right? Lawyers always have to cover their bases. We stand by our numbers. Don't we, Victoria?" Victoria straightened her spine. The arrogance flooded back into her face. "Absolutely. Our growth is aggressive. Some might say unbelievable. But it is real." Sterling held her gaze for a long, uncomfortable moment. He was giving them an out. He was practically holding up a neon sign that said, "Do not do this." "Very well," Sterling said, uncapping the pen. If you are certain, he pushed the contract toward them. They didn't see a trap. They didn't see the cage door swinging shut. They only saw the $18 million waiting on the other side of that signature. They were so hungry, they didn't even taste the poison. Victoria picked up the pen. It was a heavy, gold-plated Mont Blanc that belonged to our father, a prop he used to look important during signings he didn't understand. She hovered the nib over the signature line, hesitating for a fraction of a second. In that pause, I watched the mechanics of her mind work. I watched her weigh the risks. Sterling had just told her, in plain English, that lying on this document was a federal crime. A rational person would have stopped. A smart person would have asked for a recess to consult with their own counsel. But Victoria wasn't rational. And right now, she wasn't smart. She was starving. There is a concept in behavioral psychology called confirmation bias. It is the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories. Victoria believed she was a genius. She believed she was untouchable. And most importantly, she believed she was moments away from an $18 million payday that would erase her debts, her failures, and her fraud. When you want something that badly, your brain edits out the red flags. She didn't see a warning from a lawyer. She saw a hurdle to jump over. She didn't see a trap. She saw the finish line. I didn't force her hand. I didn't hold a gun to her head. I just laid the trap, and her own greed tightened the noose. Well, Victoria said, flashing a bright, brittle smile at Sterling. We have nothing to hide. Our numbers are solid. The sound of the pen scratching against the paper was loud in the silent room. Scritch. Scratch. She signed. She passed the document to Michael. He didn't even read it. He just signed his name with a flourish, eager to get to the part where he was rich again. Done, Michael announced, slapping the folder shut. He looked at me, his eyes gleaming with triumph. See, Lauren? That is how business is done. You take risks. You make moves. You don't sit in the corner taking pictures. Victoria let out a long breath, slumping back in her chair. Okay. It is signed. The deal is closed. She looked at Sterling, extending her hand for the wire confirmation. So, how long until the funds hit? We have some vendors to pay in the morning. The transfer, Michael added, checking his watch. It is an immediate wire, correct? The room felt heavy, charged with their expectation. They were already spending the money in their heads. They were already booking the flights, buying the cars, laughing about how they pulled one over on the investors. Sterling didn't type a code. He didn't check his watch. He didn't even open the banking portal. He calmly reached out and closed his laptop. The soft click of the lid shutting echoed like a gavel strike. I believe there is a misunderstanding, Sterling said, his voice devoid of emotion. Victoria's smile faltered. What misunderstanding? We signed. You have the contract. You signed. Sterling agreed. But I cannot authorize the wire transfer. Why the hell not? Michael demanded, his face reddening. You are the representative. You are the lawyer. I am the representative, Sterling said, folding his hands on the table. I am the proxy. I draft the contracts. I conduct the meetings. But I do not hold the checkbook. He pushed his chair back slowly. The leather squeaked against the floor. I do not have the authority to release $18 million, Sterling continued. Only the principal has that authority. The principal? Victoria asked, her voice rising in pitch. Who is the principal? Call him. Get him on the phone. I don't need to call the principal, Sterling said. He stood, walked around the table, and turned his chair toward the shadowed corner where I stood. The principal is right here. Silence crushed the room. I stepped forward, dropped my camera bag to the floor, and walked to the table with the calm of someone who owned it. From my tote, I pulled a thick binder and slammed it down. Forensic audit. Sterling and Reed Logistics Confidential. I'm the principal, I said. Titan Ventures is my holding company. I created it 6 years ago after selling my first patent. Victoria, you didn't sell to a stranger. You sold to me. She shook her head. You're a freelancer. You don't have 18 million. You're right, I replied. I didn't pay 18 million. I bought your debt for 4. Michael stood. No. You listen. Your bank classified your loans as toxic after 4 missed payments. They auctioned them. Titan Ventures was the only bidder. I own the building, the equipment, the chairs. You don't owe the bank anymore, Dad. You owe me. The color drained from his face. I turned to Victoria. And you just signed a confession. You claimed your user numbers were real. That's federal wire fraud. We're family, she whispered. Family doesn't frame people for crimes. Sterling nodded. The audit's done, I said. The debt is called. Michael lunged for the contract. Victoria tried to tear it. I wouldn't, I warned calmly. Destruction of evidence is another felony. Sterling walked to the window and yanked the cord. Floodlights poured in. The doors burst open. FBI. Hands up. Agents flooded the room. I didn't just buy your debt, I told my father. 3 months ago, I filed whistleblower reports with the SEC and FBI. Handcuffs snapped around Victoria's wrists. This was a sting, I said. The moment you signed, that was the crime. Michael stared at me. You set us up. I didn't, I replied. I just turned on the lights. You chose to steal in the dark. They were escorted out. It's done, Sterling said. Yes, I answered. Outside, I walked to my matte black sedan, slid inside, and watched the flashing lights fade across the hood. Michael lost everything tonight because he bet on a lie instead of the truth. I opened my contacts. Dad. Mom. Victoria. Delete. Not anger. Clean up. The engine purred as I pulled onto the highway. For the first time, I wasn't driving toward their approval or away from their rejection. I was just driving home. Sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming. It's becoming the one who signs the checks.